You join us in Imola as we prepare for what will undoubtedly be a magnificent day of racing. It's time, of course, for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. .1 miles of track here at Imola, featuring 19 turns, 9 to the right and 10 to the left. Remember that Imola differs from most other Formula 1 circuits as it's driven anti-clockwise. Let's hope no one forgets that today. The exit from turn 18 will probably be the setup for many of today's overtakes, leading as it does into the longest straight of the circuit and its only DRS zone. And as always, a man with plenty of racing experience joins me in the commentary box. Today it's Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, you're no stranger to surviving the melee of turn 1. So how do you keep out of trouble when there's so much going on around you?
There are three main things to worry about there, Crofty: positioning, awareness and discipline. First, you have to put your car in a bit of space and make sure you have room to react to what the others are doing. Then you have to watch your mirrors and listen to the sounds around you to get a sense of where everyone is. And finally, just don't get too greedy. Just because a gap exists doesn't always mean you should go for it.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Young superstar Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Perez, Lando Norris and Leclerc, Sainz, Ricciardo, Gasly and Fernando Alonso, Ocon, Stroll, Sebastian Vettel and Raikkonen, Russell, Latifi, Yuki Tsunoda and Antonio Giovinazzi, Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
The amount of pressure on the top two drivers on the grid are going to be huge here. In Imola, here we go. 5 red lights are on. And we're green in Imola. Verstappen and Hamilton. Verstappen looks like he has the better start. Hamilton, also in Perez, also gets good starts. Here comes Hamilton. Here comes Perez. Both of them almost 4 wide into turn number 1. Hamilton, Verstappen, both wheel to wheel through the first chicane. Perez behind. He follows behind through Villeneuve now. Here comes Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. The two championship rivals have Verstappen runs wide. Here comes Hamilton up through Tosa now. Up the hill into the hairpin. Verstappen down the inside. Hamilton around the outside. Now they're wheel to wheel heading into turn number 9. Around the outside goes Lewis Hamilton through the left-hander. He takes the lead down into 10. Now heading up to 12, 11, 12, and 13. Look at that beautiful corner. Amazing. Up through 13 now. Down this little main street into 14 and 15. That is Alta. Into the chicane. Hamilton leads. Verstappen second. Perez third. Bottas is fourth. And I think that's Norris in fifth. Now heading down into Ravazza now. The last two corners. 17 and 18. Hamilton will lead the first lap. That's not the final corner. This is the final corner of turn 19. And now Hamilton will lead the first lap. Max Verstappen's got a good room now. Heading down in Dubasa now. Heading down into Tamburello. Oh, Verstappen's trying to look for a move. He's going to down on the inside. Hamilton around the outside. Oh, it's contact! Oh, Verstappen spins. He's in the wall. He loses his front wing. And it's a yellow flag in the first sector. Oh, good lordy. And that's a virtual safety car. Hamilton and Verstappen make contact in the first corner on the second lap. Unbelievable. Oh my goodness. Oh.
But is this guy blind? What is wrong with him?
Yeah, Verstappen does not seem happy about what just happened there between him and Verstappen. Look at that. He's lost his entire front wing. He can't control the car. Perez is now he's now the car in second place behind Hamilton. As you can see, the virtual safety car is now ending, and we're about to go green. We are green flag racing. It still shows the virtual safety car. Now it has ended. Green flags are back out. So now the order is Hamilton, Perez, Bottas, Norris, Gasly, Leclerc, Ricciardo, Sainz, Alonso, and Stroll. Look at that, Verstappen now 7 seconds behind, but still dropping because he doesn't have a front wing, and he still has to pit now. DRS is now available on this lap. Look at the midfield battle. Pierre Gasly trying to get by Lando Norris. He's going to dive around the outside. Goes Pierre Gasly. And look at that, around the outside, I believe. That's Charles Leclerc. Was that Leclerc trying to defend for Hamilton? Also, Hamilton has been given as now under investigation for the contact. As you can see now, Verstappen is changing his front wing and putting on a new one. And you can see now he is now second in the championship because he's not earning a single point. Hamilton, though, he's trying. Well, he now has a warning. But now he's under investigation, so this means that Hamilton might get a penalty. Perez is in second, Bottas is third, Norris is fourth, battling Pierre Gasly, Leclerc battling Daniel Ricciardo. So we have a midfield battle between the AlphaTauri of Pierre Gasly, then it's the McLarens and the Ferraris. Alonso is behind Sainz, the two Spaniards fighting in the championship. Hang on, let me look at the current standings of the championship. Here on my screen, I have right beside me now, as I think Hamilton is still ahead of Perez. Yes, he is, but Perez, less than a second now, he will have DRS down the street. I'm looking at here now. Yes, Sainz and Alonso are basically really close to each other in this championship. Here comes Sergio Perez with DRS. Is he close enough? No, he's not. So no action will be happening through Tamburello. Now heading up into Villeneuve. Hamilton's still under investigation for the contact, so I wonder if Hamilton will get a penalty. But look, George Russell gets by Yuki Tsunoda for 13th place. Look at that, Max Verstappen 38 seconds down. Ridiculous. You can see Hamilton and Perez are now fighting 1-2. Look at Bottas already 2.9, almost 3 seconds behind. Perez has 4 wins this season. Hamilton, your winner last time out in the Bahrain Grand Prix. Perez won 3 in a row before in Austria, Portugal, and Mexico. And it looks like Hamilton's and Verstappen's contact has been ruled a race incident. So no investigation necessary, and there's no penalty for Lewis Hamilton. Sergio Perez will have to catch Hamilton if he wants to both fight in the normal championship, in the drivers' championship, and the constructors. So let's see what Perez does down the main straight with DRS. Here we go. Can Sergio Perez make a move on Lewis Hamilton? Can he? He's close. No, just not close enough. Kimi Räikkönen. Oh, Tsunoda's in the pits. Yuki Tsunoda enters the pit lane. And I wonder it's because, yes, I see a front wing at the pit, guys. Yes, it is Tsunoda changing his front wing. So this is the second time that we had a driver changing their front wing. So Tsunoda will be dropping to the back with Max Verstappen. Question is, how far ahead is he going to be on Max Verstappen? Meanwhile, Lewis Hamilton and Perez are still less than a second from each other. Bottas 4 seconds now from Hamilton and Perez. It looks like Perez might be a big factor in this race. Lando Norris, though, I think, I can't really tell because of how long the angle is from here, but it seems like Lando Norris probably has some front wing damage. But I can't really tell. I mean, he's losing so much pace on Valtteri Bottas. I would assume he does. But here we go. Perez closing in on Lewis Hamilton. He's 7/10, almost. He's now 8/10, but he will have the DRS down the main straight. As my cat is trying to get in my room. Go away, Reba. Sorry. Go away. Meanwhile, Hamilton's giving good pace. Meanwhile, Pierre Gasly and Lando Norris are fighting. The camera will not go back to it. Meanwhile, Latifi gets by Schumacher. And there it goes. Latifi did get by Schumacher down the main street with DRS. You can see, oh my goodness. I think that was Max Verstappen struggling still on the track for grip. That is through turn 9, I believe. Now down into... Wait, hold on. Let me just pull up my map again. Okay. Yeah, Lando Norris did get passed by Pierre Gasly. Now it looks like Charles Leclerc almost getting by Lando Norris. As here is a replay of what happened, how Gasly get by Lando Norris. He's got the DRS, he's got overtake. Oh my goodness, almost squeezed into the grass. Lando Norris almost did to Pierre Gasly, but beautiful move by Pierre Gasly with the DRS and the overtake, and he gets by Lando Norris clean. Meanwhile, back down the main straight, Perez is closed in on Hamilton. He's closer than he's ever been for the last 3 laps. Here on lap 7, can Perez make a move on Hamilton? Oh, he's been close. No! No move through Tamburillo. But now it looks like Lando Norris has some pressure from Charles Leclerc. Oh my goodness, Charles Leclerc almost making a move. Kimi Räikkönen gets by George Russell down the main straight, and Mick Schumacher down the inside of Antonio Giovinazzi. They're wheel to wheel. Now, Schumacher, can he get by? Yes, he can. What a move by Mick Schumacher and a Haas that struggles on pace every single week. And somehow Schumacher scored 4 points in this series. Unbelievably. He's raced 9 rounds, but he scored a total of 4 points. Meanwhile, Sergio Perez is closer than he was last lap on Lewis Hamilton. So he could possibly have a chance here for overtaking down the main straight with DRS. And they came through 14 and 15 into Ravazza now of turn 18. Now down Bassa. Can Perez catch Hamilton down the main straight? Why am I struggling? He's closer than he's ever been. Can he try and force an overtake? No, he can't. Meanwhile, Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc, 2 championship rivals, down in the inside. Goes Charles Leclerc with DRS, and he gets by Lando Norris. What a move by the Ferrari in their home race. Meanwhile, Carlos Sainz and Daniel Ricciardo are going wheel to wheel. Sainz! No! Ricciardo! He stays ahead of Sainz. What a battle between them. Look at that. Oh, look at the battle behind them for 9th. Alonso, Stroll, Vettel, and Ocon all fighting for 9th. Look at that. Stroll and Vettel. Ricciardo and Sainz are still wheel to wheel. But look at that. Vettel and Alonso and Stroll. Who's going to get ahead? It's Stroll. Stroll gets ahead of Vettel for 10th place. These 2 teams aren't even fighting in the championship. Remember, this is the EMILIA-ROMAGNA Grand Prix in Imola, which is actually the state that Imola is in. That's why it's named the EMILIA-ROMAGNA Grand Prix. Down the main straight goes Sergio Perez once again. He's close. Every lap he gets closer and closer to Hamilton, but just will not force an overtake. But that is championship level status there. He's being patient about his overtake. He doesn't want to instantly pass. As Fernando Alonso gets by Daniel Ricciardo, they're wheel to wheel now. Who's going to come out in front? And it's going to be Ricciardo is ahead. And he stays ahead. Daniel Ricciardo stays ahead of Fernando Alonso. I think Ricciardo now has no damage because Sainz got by him, and now it's either one or 2 things. That Ferrari is so fast, A, or B, McLaren is absolutely struggling with pace. Meanwhile, Pierre Gasly still in 4th, 4.6 seconds behind Valtteri Bottas, who's 8.1 seconds behind Perez. So, Bottas not really playing a factor here in this race. Raikkonen still in 13th. Meanwhile, look at Verstappen trying to get by Yuki Tsunoda. They're not even fighting for I mean, this would be good for Verstappen to pass Tsunoda, but it barely do anything except if Verstappen can go way. I mean, Verstappen can pull off a great move. Meanwhile, Perez and Hamilton. Oh, I think there was contact between them. I didn't even see that. Perez and Hamilton were side by side through the first chicane. And I believe, yes, Perez has damage on his front wing. And Alonso has gotten by Daniel Ricciardo. No, Ricciardo fights back, and he will take 8th place back. So Hamilton has given both Red Bulls damage. Basically, Verstappen got damage on the 2nd lap, while Perez got damage on the 10th lap. And Verstappen does get by Yuki Tsunoda, so that's good for Verstappen. Nothing really new going on here, except for Perez will have to pit for a new front wing, because he's got damage. Lando Norris struggling on pace. George Russell at the end of this queue now. It started with Fernando Alonso, or it starts with Daniel Ricciardo. So that might be Daniel Ricciardo with damage. Yes, Perez is saying he's got damage. And he's saying it was unfair that he got damage from Hamilton. I mean, I don't blame him for that. Because that's the 2nd time now that Hamilton has hit a Red Bull. So, and look at that. Red Bull is using their special livery this time that they used for the Turkish Grand Prix to represent Honda. But, this is just... It's kind of not fair for Sergio Perez. So, and there's Verstappen now getting the radio message that Perez is at the pit. And, oh, a little bit of profanity there from Verstappen, but, I mean, there's no bias towards Verstappen at all, but Hamilton's hit both Red Bulls and caused damage to both of them, especially Verstappen, who's now back in 19th place. It's still... And now Hamilton has only received a warning. And Hamilton's replying, saying that they turned into him. So saying that the Red Bulls hit him. Now Hamilton pits. Hamilton's in the pit lane. It's not for front wing change. It is a normal tire change onto hard tires at 2.8. And there's a lot of drivers now entering the pit lane. Gasly's in, I believe. Oh, here we go. On the right side, Gasly's in. So he's the first guy in. Norris is in. Sainz is in. I see Ricciardo now going wheel to wheel. And he gets passed by, I believe, Lance Stroll. And there's Lewis Hamilton coming out of the pits. He's wheel to wheel with Ricciardo. Can they go wheel to wheel? No. I'm sorry about the non-commentary that's going on. Sainz at 2.6. Lando Norris at 8.1. I believe he changed his front wing. But meanwhile, Hamilton is still not by Ricciardo. They're still wheel to wheel. Alonso with a 2.8. I think that was Sebastian Vettel with a 3.0. As Max Verstappen is now gotten by Carlos Sainz. So now Verstappen's moving up the grid by all these pit stops. So he's gained enough pace to fight these guys who are coming out of the pits. So this could be interesting here. He's right now 4 seconds behind Pierre Gasly, who just came out of the pits. Who was the first in the pits other than Hamilton. And it's the onboard now of Max Verstappen. In this beautiful corner. Nice apex. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. It's a nice challenging corner too. Here in Imola. Nice and simple, but nice and challenging. That chicane also is pretty powerful. As now Charles Leclerc's in, Stroll's in, Ocon, Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Latifi, and one more. Schumacher is in. And Perez moves up to third. Valtteri Bottas takes the lead. And that was because he started on mediums. Look at that, Charles Leclerc with a 2.9. Fastest pit stop, Latifi, 2.3. Wow. That Williams team, really powerful. You see Lando Norris getting by Yuki Tsunoda around the outside of turn 1. They're wheel to wheel. Can Lando Norris stick the move? No, he can't. Tsunoda holds on to 8th. But all that does is slow him down so that Fernando Alonso behind in 10th will fight Lando Norris. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen is now up to 6th. And Hamilton is being chased by Sergio Perez by having a 17-second gap behind Valtteri Bottas. So the Mercedes team right now is dominating this race. Now, last place, of course, is Nikita Mazepin because every week is so slow. I mean, no offense to him, but he is slow. And there's Pierre Gasly in 4th place after getting by Lando Norris. As his only overtake so far. Charles Leclerc on the back of him. And we have a weather report. There is rain coming. Oh boy. This could be interesting. So there's rain coming. So Verstappen, this could play out for Verstappen really well. Verstappen can get a podium. Meanwhile, Lando Norris going for a move on Yuki Tsunoda. Down the inside through turn 1. What a move by the British driver. Meanwhile, Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll, wheel to wheel. Sebastian Vettel gets ahead of his teammate. And Esteban Ocon, the Alpine driver, is almost catching up. Sam was going nuts because that's probably his favorite team is Aston Martin. He's going absolutely nuts. Valtteri Bottas now comes in for his pit stop. That is not Hamilton. That is... Oh dear. The graphics have got it wrong. Because that is Valtteri Bottas in the pit lane, not Lewis Hamilton. That's Lewis Hamilton, who is now taking the lead. Bottas is now 2nd, so the graphics indicated that was Hamilton. That was Bottas, so I'm very sorry that happened. Charles Leclerc is being caught by Max Verstappen, who's now back up. Oh boy. Gasly as well. Oh, around the outside. Here comes Max Verstappen around the outside. What a double overtake by Max Verstappen on both Gasly and Leclerc. What a move. Meanwhile, Tsunoda's in to the pit lane again. He had to pit early because he had the same issue as Verstappen. He chipped some of his front wing off. So now he falls back to last. But what a move by Max Verstappen to pass both cars of both Gasly and Charles Leclerc. So amazing move. There's Sebastian Vettel, Lance Stroll fighting Esteban Ocon. Which, again, these two are not even close in the championship. With a point deficit right now, currently, of 27 points. So, not really that well. So there's Carlos Sainz in 7th place. Looks like Ferrari right now are having a good race against their championship rivals, Alfa, Aston Martin, and McLaren. But seems like, I mean, Ferrari needs a good finish. Meanwhile, Charles Leclerc just got by Pierre Gasly. I didn't get to witness it. I'm very sorry. Daniel Ricciardo gets by George Russell. But I did not get to see Charles Leclerc and Gasly fight. I'm very sorry. I've been looking at the point standings currently because it is a really intense fight between Hamilton and Verstappen. We have only 4 rounds to go. And these two are fighting for their lives right now. Fighting for the championship. As our next race is Monza. We have Monza and then we have Australia and then Abu Dhabi. We will not be racing in, I know this month, Saudi Arabia gets released, but we will be not racing in Saudi Arabia because, judging by the layout itself I've seen, it does not look fun to drive. So I have refused to race at Saudi Arabia. But this track, though, this is proven right now to be a good race so far. Verstappen has made an amazing comeback. He is now up to 4th. And he is actually closing in on Valtteri Bottas. He's 7.5 seconds behind. While there is rain coming. We don't know exactly when, but we think it's going to be around lap 20. As Lance Stroll trying to catch his teammate Sebastian Vettel. Vettel being a 4-time world champion in a row, might I add, being the youngest champion in 2010. As my co-commentator Sam is giving some good messages, spreading the good vibes to the fans, having a good time over there, just swinging in this cage. There's a fight behind between, I think that's George Russell and Kimi Räikkönen, I believe. It's a nice little battle there. So we're on here on lap 17 of 32. Hamilton still in the lead, but from Perez, from Bottas, from Verstappen. Then Charles Leclerc, then Pierre Gasly, Sainz, Norris, Alonso, and Vettel. That is your top 10. Currently in the points, Gasly trying to catch Leclerc, but it seems like Charles Leclerc having the dream of his life right now. Just taking a great place for Ferrari in their home race. Not exactly their home race, but it is a place where they came from. I mean, this truck is literally called Ferrari, so I'll give it that. Gasly trying to catch. I mean, this is another thing. This is for not only Ferrari's home race, this is AlphaTauri's home race too. So right now, Gasly and Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, all three are in their home or team's home race, might I say, while Antonio Giovinazzi is having his home race here in Imola. So Hamilton still leads. Perez is still second. Bottas is now third. Verstappen is still fourth. So no position change, but it seems like Stroll and Vettel might go wheel to wheel again, or Ocon and Stroll. We might have a four-way battle for maybe 11th place, because look at the gap between Ocon, Ricciardo, and Stroll, and Vettel. Get down there. There we go. We have a very close battle. That might be an interesting battle down the main straight. Here we go. Ocon, Stroll, Ricciardo. The gap is closing. Here we go. Down the main straight. What will happen? Down the main straight. Here comes Daniel Ricciardo. He's going to try and force an overtake on his championship rival. Can he force an overtake around the outside? No. No overtake will happen. Wow. But meanwhile, George Russell trying to defend from Kimi Räikkönen. Can he stick to it? No. Räikkönen gets ahead of George Russell. Amazing move by the 40-year-old Kimi Räikkönen in his final year of Formula 1. But probably not in the MyF1 championship. I love the little signs around just explaining, like, Imola and all that crap. This is awesome. I love it. Right now, oh boy, those are clouds. That is a partly cloudy, that is a very, very cloudy sky. And that can only mean one thing, that there is definitely rain in the area here on lap 20. Verstappen fell back to last place after making contact with Hamilton on the first lap. Had to change his front wing and since gained 16 positions. And is currently second in the Drivers' Championship with the current positions that they are in. So Verstappen right now is second in the driver's standings. But this race ain't over. We still got 12 laps to go. Anything can happen. I mean, Perez still has the pit, so Verstappen will be third. But he's gained 2 seconds since the last time we checked between the gap between Valtteri Bottas and Max Verstappen. Meanwhile, Yuki Tsunoda gets by Nikita Mazepin. So the AlphaTauri driver not really having a good race. And there's a yellow flag in the first sector. And it's Antonio Giovinazzi. Oh, what's happened? What has happened to the man who is in this home race? What has happened to Antonio Giovinazzi? And meanwhile, Perez has boxed, and now Verstappen will take third. But he's right behind. And here's an instant replay of what happened to Antonio Giovinazzi. See, with Nicholas Latifi. He's going to go around the outside of Nicholas Latifi. Oh, gets on the curb. Oh, a little touch there on the wheel. Sends him spinning. Oh my goodness, almost on the wall. Thankfully, though, not in the wall. And he can keep going. Meanwhile, though, look at Daniel Ricciardo trying for the same move again. He's going to try around the outside. Can he stick the move? No! Just Ocon, great defense. Russell getting by Kimi Räikkönen, by the way. So now Russell's back up to 14. Oh!
Stephanie separate box, enters.
So it might be time now for those intermediate tires to play in this race. It might be time. It is starting to rain here in Imola. Hamilton has stayed out though. So very interesting that he stays out for another lap while the track is becoming greasy and will be raining and wet. And meanwhile, Sergio Perez gets by Pierre Gasly and he takes back 5th place. So Perez moves back up to 5th. And now we'll be chasing Charles Leclerc. Yeah, it is starting to rain now in Imola. Here on lap 22. I think now is the crossover point. Hamilton trying to navigate his way through. The track definitely getting wetter. Oh yeah, now it's very wet. Now it's wet. You can see now the droplets on the track. It is definitely wet. DRS has been disabled. Here we go. Hamilton's in. Bottas is in. Verstappen's in. Charles Leclerc will be coming in soon. Everyone is going to switch out to those intermediate tires. So here we go. The wet race is on. And here come the others. Leclerc, Perez, Gasly, Sainz, Norris are all in. And then come the others. Alonso, Vettel, Stroll, Ocon, Russell, Raikkonen, Latifi, Ricciardo, Tsunoda, Schumacher, Mazepin, and Giovinazzi all coming in now. It is definitely a wet track. Hamilton still in the lead by 13 seconds. But now the Verstappen's cut the gap between him and Bottas. Vettel gets by Ocon. I don't think a single person stayed out. Except for Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll did not pit and is out on the track with dry tires. So that is kind of a bad move by Lance Stroll. Because he's going to lose so much grip and lose so much time not taking his chances. Let's look at the gap now. 2 seconds between Verstappen and Bottas. It's less than 2 seconds now. Leclerc gets by Stroll. Of course he does. Because he's on wet tires, as now Verstappen's on the back of Valtteri Bottas. Hamilton, 13 seconds ahead. Perez has gotten by Lance Stroll, so now he's on the hunt to get Charles Leclerc. So Hamilton has a 13-second gap over Valtteri Bottas. Verstappen less than a second now, or more than a second. It's at least within a second of Valtteri Bottas. Look at that. Stroll has just dropped so badly. I don't even know what Stroll was thinking. Mazepin stayed out as well. He's had to come in for wet tires. So Nikita Mazepin's in. As now Valtteri Bottas. Look at this. Verstappen's on the back of Bottas. And Mazepin drops the last. As now Bottas. That's Hamilton getting ahead. I think of Mazepin. Here comes Max Verstappen though. He's going to try to look down the inside. He's going to try to run the outside of turn 1. As Hamilton! He loses the back end! Hamilton spins! Oh dear! Lewis Hamilton spins! And Verstappen and Bottas are wheel to wheel, heading up through Villeneuve. Can Verstappen get ahead? Hamilton gets back going. Around the outside.
Sorry guys. Yeah,
And around the outside of Villeneuve goes Max Verstappen. He gets by. Meanwhile, oh dear, that's Daniel Ricciardo. He's out of the race. His engine has just blown. Look at the smoke coming out of the back. He is out of this race. So now it's Hamilton, only a 3.5 second gap between him and Max Verstappen. Now this has just turned into a very exciting race, because now it's Hamilton v Verstappen once again in the World Championship, that is the MyF1 Championship. So now Hamilton only has a 3.2 gap. Verstappen, look at him, pushing that car to its limits, trying to catch up. Bottas on the back of Verstappen. But I don't think he's going to be a main factor. Lando Norris now has to score points for his team. Verstappen trying to close the gap now on Hamilton. There's only 7 laps to go in this race. Oh boy. This could be good. Let's see Perez trying to catch Charles Leclerc. Verstappen's closed the gap now to 3.1 seconds now. He is closing that gap slowly, but he is pushing that Red Bull to its limits. But he got spun on the second lap by Hamilton, lost his front wing, and fell back 30-40 seconds behind the leader. Behind last place even. And he crawled all his way back up to second place. And now will be challenging the lead. He has definitely closed the gap for the lead. He's now 2.5 seconds behind Hamilton. 2.3 now behind Hamilton. He is definitely closing the gap on Lewis Hamilton. 2.2. With now 6 to go. It's now less than 2 seconds. Verstappen is catching Hamilton at such a fast pace. It's Hamilton v Verstappen once again. Last time these two battled, I think it wasn't Bahrain. It was Bahrain that they battled, but the actual battle they had together was the Portuguese Grand Prix, where they both were fighting for the win. Well, they were both fighting for second place. Perez ran away with the victory, but out of the last corner, Verstappen beat Hamilton to the line. But now, these two, it's now less than a second now. Oh my goodness, I think that was Nikita Mazepin who just held up Hamilton there. But now it's less than a second. Verstappen on the back of Hamilton. This is going to be really good. Last 5 laps of this race. Verstappen behind Hamilton by less than a second. Bottas behind 1.6 seconds. Charles Leclerc, look at that, 15 seconds. Here we go. 5 laps to go. Here in the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. And there is the graphic. Verstappen is chasing Hamilton, the leader. These two have been going at it this entire season, where Hamilton made contact with Verstappen on the first race. Let's see the first sector. Verstappen slower by 1/10. But back to what I was saying, Hamilton and Verstappen made contact in Belgium. Verstappen turned both Verstappen and Albon into after the Kemmel Straight. In Brazil, both of these guys fight for the last lap in an amazing battle to the finish. And Verstappen loses more time in the second sector. In the third race, Azerbaijan, Verstappen took the lead and ran away with it. Had no looking back. In the Dutch GP, these two battled the entire time, just chasing each other. But on one lap, Verstappen got held back, and Hamilton took the lead and won. In Verstappen's backyard, in the third sector, Verstappen slower again. Verstappen has lost time this entire lap. In the Monaco GP, Verstappen overtook Hamilton on the last lap of the race and won it, almost lapping everybody. In the Canadian GP, nobody scored that race. Austrian GP, Hamilton and Verstappen made contact. Verstappen gains by 3/10 this lap. He's gaining on Max Verstappen, on Lewis Hamilton, I mean. Verstappen is gaining on Lewis Hamilton. Look at the gap now, is just dying off. The gap has now went back up. And he's lost now 1/10, almost 2/10 on Hamilton. Now heading up into the last two corners, 2 left-handers. It looks like the rain has gotten worse, but I don't think it's enough for full wets. I think the intermediate tires can last. 3 laps to go now. Verstappen, he gains again in the third sector. And he gained 3/10 that lap. But now, these two, really close to each other. 2/10 separate them. And I think now they are battling. Yes, they are. Hamilton and Verstappen are now battling. Through Villeneuve they go. Now up the hill towards the hairpin. Verstappen down the inside of Hamilton. Through the hairpin. And Verstappen takes the lead. But here comes Hamilton back. He's going to go down the inside into the fast left-hander. And Hamilton, no, Verstappen holds on to the lead. Now down the hill into 11, 12, and 13. Verstappen is now your leader. Hamilton's now chasing. Up the hill, they're still battling. Hamilton using the outside lane. Verstappen holds on. Oh, but Hamilton gets a better exit. Then Verstappen, he's going to try down the inside. Now heading down. Downhill they go. Into the 2 left-handers. Into Ravazza. 17 and 18. Out of turn 18. Bottas now entering the mix. 2 laps to go here in Imola. Here comes Lewis Hamilton once again down the inside into Tamburillo. But Verstappen holds on to the lead. Coming out of turn 4 and into Villeneuve. They're still battling. But I think the battle is over. Heading up the hill into Tosa. And now heading into Piratella. And I think Verstappen has now claimed the lead by himself. From last to first. Verstappen was 40 seconds back on 19th place. And now has taken the lead with only 2 laps to go. Verstappen did not lead a single lap this race. And now he's led 1. But he'll lead the other 2, probably, into Ravazza. And coming around, turn 18. And heading to 19. The final lap for Max Verstappen has started through turn 1. Yes, that is a literal turn. They're calling it. And into Tamburillo. Verstappen has been in the back the entire time. Bottas and Hamilton are going well to well. Bottas has gotten ahead of Hamilton. What is this? This is not team orders, but that was the worst thing that could have happened. Sir Tosa. Now Verstappen is ahead of Bottas and Hamilton. I don't know what were they thinking, but they were not thinking clearly there. Through Piratella. Now down the hill into Minerali. Through 13 now. Heading up to Alta Chicane. Through 14 and 15. Bottas still ahead of Hamilton. I don't know why Bottas passed Hamilton in this championship fight. Into Ravazza now. Max Verstappen came from the back. Has turned this race upside down. And Max Verstappen will come around the last corner and win the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. What a win for Max Verstappen, and he increases his championship lead to 10. What a race from Max Verstappen. Valtteri Bottas second, Hamilton will get third, Charles Leclerc fourth.
Sensational victory they've managed to pull off here. Talk to me, Ants. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, keeping their tyre temperatures up in the tricky wet conditions was really important. There's not much grip out there at the best of times, and it's 10 times worse if you're out there on cold tyres. So the way they kept the rubber in its proper operating window was a huge advantage today.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sport that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for driver of the day?
Max Verstappen seemed to just effortlessly weave through the other drivers today without a care in the world. He was definitely my driver of choice.
Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.